Look it up.
Did you just hear that? Look it up. Who does that sound like to you? That sounds like Cenk from the Young Turks. It's absolutely right. Look it up. What do you do when you can't win a political debate? Well, let's find out. Let's take a 1-minute course from Cenk of the Young Turks.
Was Abraham Lincoln a Republican?
He was a Republican and a progressive. I know it's hard for you to understand.
Yeah.
The parties switched. That's
Okay,
what he's asking you.
that's-
no one.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. When you know that your opposition is about to make a point, instead of just answering the question, you answer the question, and then you add a twist to it to make your opponent seem like a retard. That's how it works. Notice he answers. He's like, yeah, I know it's hard for you to understand. Come on, Cenk.
You mentioned the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Did more Republicans in proportion or more Democrats vote for the Civil Rights Act of 1964? Answer yes, which one? Which party voted in greater proportion for the Civil Rights Act of 1964?
Great, let's do it.
Which one?
Oh my god, it's gonna happen. Cenk from the Young Turks is gonna answer a question.
All right.
Do you know?
So I believe that the guy who pushed for the Civil Rights Act was a guy named Lyndon Baines Johnson.
Okay, so wait, what? That's not what he asked you. He asked you in proportion, did the Republican Party mostly vote yes for the Civil Rights Act as opposed to Democrats? Did you notice the tactic that Cenk just used? Well, if you didn't notice, he was asked a very simple yes or no question, and instead of answering it, he's trying to change the topic so he doesn't have to answer it. This is called dancing around the question, which is very famously what most modern day politicians do. He won't answer the question, instead he'll try to change the topic, so he wins.
Who was most clearly a Democrat, and at that point, the Democratic Party had a lot of racist conservatives in it.
Sorry to keep interrupting, but that is the closest that Cenk will even come to answering the question. He's still gonna bumble on about how the party switched and not answer the question directly, which was simply yes or no.
It's true. What led to the transition was the 1964 Civil Rights Act, where those Democratic racists decided, man, I love the Republican Party, I think I should go there. And for you to say, at that moment in history, that's the whole point, Dinesh.
Okay.
That's when they switched.
All right,
that's when all the racists went to your party.
Okay.
Look it up.
See what I mean? I talked about this tactic earlier. Instead of answering the question directly, you kind of go on and you attack the character. So now he's attacking the party. Instead of directly answering the question, the critique of the Democratic Party, he twists it and turns it around and says, no, it's really you nowadays. Look it up. Look it up. Look into history. Look it up.
Look it up.
So I take it that this is a backhanded admission that far more Republicans proportionally voted for the Civil Rights Act than Democrats, right? Okay, you admit it. You try to camouflage it, but you admit it. Now,
that moment when even the opposition realizes and calls you out on trying to camouflage the answer.
say that that's when they switched. So let me ask you this. We had the Voting Rights Act in 1965 and the Fair Housing Bill in 1968. Let's take the Fair Housing Bill. Did more Republicans or more Democrats proportionally vote for the Fair Housing Bill? Which one?
I know these interruptions are getting pretty annoying, but Dinesh D'Souza asked a direct question to Cenk. He asked which party voted a majority for the House Appropriation Act or the House Appropriation Bill. It's a simple yes or no question, so let's see whether or not Cenk will answer it with a yes or no.
So, Dinesh, let me try it again. Let's try this one more time.
Look at that fucking idiot. Oh my god, he asked you a question, and then he goes, okay guys, as he looks at the crowd having a story. Okay guys, let's try this again. I'm not gonna answer the question, but let's try this again. Look at it.
So, Republicans were more progressive.
That's not what he asked you, fuckface. But look at that fucking smug attitude. The only person who should be smug in this debate is Dinesh. I'm not even a fan of Dinesh. I like some of what he says, but at least he's asking you a legitimate question straight on. And you act smug and like a smartass.
They were the progressive party, so they would push for things that were progressive until those events in that exact time period, Dinesh. And then a lot of them thought under Nixon, and he wasn't president yet. And when he ran, he said, hey, I got a great idea. Let's get all those racist Democrats to join the Republican Party. Let's run on racism. And you know what they did? They then went on a campaign through Nixon to bring all the racists in the Republican Party, which I'm not admitting. The head of the Republican National Committee, two different heads of it, came out and gave a speech and said, yes, we transitioned into racists, and that was our strategy.
Really?
Who to try to deny that?
You see what's really annoying about that is he barely answered the question. Was it yes or no? He kind of answered, but he camouflaged it in Republicans are racist now. Sorry. Look it up. Look it up. Republicans are no racist. Look it up. Look it up. Look it up.
Look it up. Look it up. Look it up. Look it up. It's insanity.
Is it really? Let me ask you
think the Democrats are more racist now? By the way,
hold on.
Let me give you one piece of context. I got to give you context.
I just want to
Ed,
show.
You wrote a book saying that slavery wasn't about race in this country. You wrote a book where you said black people should give white people reparations for liberating them.
Ad hominem, ad hominem, ad hominem, ad hominem. That's exactly what Cenk is fucking doing. That's what Cenk Uterus is doing right now. He's not even answering the question. Instead, he makes a critique about something that Dinesh D'Souza says, which, by the way, isn't true. Dinesh D'Souza never once said that. But the way Cenk is he's trying to use ad populist, I think is what it's called, which is kind of like ad hominem, where you try to get the people on your side by attacking the character. It's a combination of ad hominem and ad populist. I believe that's what it's called. He's not answering the question. Instead, he camouflages it. He doesn't deny, but he camouflages the fact that the Democratic Party was the party of slavery, and then completely changes the perspective. It's one thing to answer the question and then say, but here's the thing about that, because that's what a debate is. But he's not even debating at this point.
For liberating them.
No, I did say that slavery in America did not start out in racial terms. The people tried to enslave the American Indians,
I only need to play you a brief part of what Dinesh D'Souza says, which is complete opposite of what Cenk says that he said. But because Cenk said it, people automatically aren't going to listen to him because they associate racism with him. So Cenk at this point won his populace over. There's no way they're going to listen to Dinesh now because they see him as a racist bigot because he lied, even though he's saying he didn't say that, and he actually tells them what he said.
blacks owned slaves. So this is part of the real complexity of our history. But I noticed that when we're talking, you raised...
Racism was a real mixed bag. I remember all those white folks being owned by black people.
Here's the sad part about this, is you can see Cenk fanboys commenting up in the comment section, defending Cenk's butthole, because he fucked himself up the butt. You see, he pretty much just admitted that he's not going to answer the question. He's using ad hominem and ad populist. He doesn't care about debating politics. He wants it to be his perspective, something he thinks he can win. He wants to use bumper stickers to debate instead of actual facts. But his fanboys are so far up in his butthole, sniffing it and licking it, it doesn't even matter at this point.
I notice that every time I try to pin you down, you try to switch the topic or reframe the vocabulary. Okay? Now, hold on. You
said the guy who earlier in the debate said, "Now let's pivot."
Seriously? Says the guy who earlier one time said, "Now let's pivot." The guy who said one time, "Let's pivot." Seriously? You've been doing that this entire fucking time. Dinesh just said one time, "Let's pivot." At the very beginning of the debate. You've been doing it this entire time, and this video proves how many times you have done that.
you mentioned Nixon, right? Nixon's Southern strategy based on open appeals to racism. Let me ask you this. In 1968, who won the Deep South?
So, look, I get it.
You don't know.
No, I get it. No, his whole,
do you know?
His whole shtick is, during the transition, when we were trying to get the racists, we didn't have them all.
Transition, you said it started in 64, and you said Nixon was the epitome of it. Nixon was elected in 68, and I'm asking you, who won the Deep South, and you have no idea.
The Democrats owned the Deep South
for decades
and decades.
Okay.
They lost the South because Nixon began that campaign of the Southern strategy, and Pat Buchanan on MSNBC admitted to me, yes, we ran it for 40 years and we had a good ride. So, like, for you to take the point where they started and go, oh, they weren't completely and utterly racist yet because their mission had not yet been accomplished, is not a winning argument.
Jesus Christ. How? Oh my God. You've been saying the same thing for the last 5 minutes. You're not even answering a single thing that Dinesh says. Instead, you just twist it and you try to play the superiority card. You bring up racism. You're not answering his question. Dinesh called you out. He said, you have no idea. And he's still fucking bumbling on. Oh my God. How does this not frustrate anybody? But like I said, if you want to learn how to debate, you're gonna watch Cenk, because that's how you debate. Because that way you never lose, and somehow you still have over 200,000 subscribers.
What I'm getting at is this. Progressive historiography has claimed for the left and for the Democratic Party credit for a civil rights movement in the 60s that was actually done largely by the Republican Party. If the Democratic Party had been the only party in America, none of these laws would have passed. Now, you don't find that in your textbooks. You don't find your professors telling you this. You won't hear about this on the Young Turks. Why? Because they're now doing cover-up for the progressives.
It is purposely misleading. That's why you don't say it, because it's purposely misleading. Is the grass green? Oh, sometimes it's yellow. Gotcha. All right, so do you think that black people should give white people reparations?
Oh my God, I just fucking went mentally challenged just now. Oh fuck. Oh my God, oh God, I need a pause. Did you guys see that? Please tell me you saw that. Dinesh D'Souza went on to say that the Democratic Party is the party of slavery, the party of the KKK, the South, Southern racism. But then, he didn't literally say that, but it is what he's getting at, as you could tell. And then Cenk goes, no, that's misleading. It's like, is the grass is green? Well, it's sometimes yellow. I gotcha. What? How is that even the same thing? How? How does that analogy work? It's the truth. You can even look this up on Wikipedia, and I know Wikipedia is not a reputable source because sometimes it changes, but if you look at Wikipedia 5 months ago and you look at it 5 months into the future, you will see that the South was the Democratic Party. You'll see that the KKK was a democratic institution founded to undermine Republican values, to undermine the Republican Party. It was a militia from the Democratic Party. And then he goes on and completely flip-flops, completely fucking changes the subject and goes, well, do you think black people should pay white people in reparations? That's not why. What? That has nothing to do with what he just said. That was an earlier conversation. Why don't you actually try to rebuttal?
No.
Okay, how about that? What you wrote in your book about, hey, they should be so happy about being liberated, they should give white people money.
That's
you
not
wrote
what
that.
I said. That's not what I said. Let me tell you what I did say. And this is why, actually, you know, we're having a debate with politics and entertainment, but we can't get to these issues if we don't frame the other person's argument fairly. In my movies, in the America film, I brought on leading leftists, Michael Eric Dyson and others, and I let them make their case. And later, after the movie, I saw him. I go, Michael, did I portray you fairly in the movie? And he goes, you're not Michael Moore. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. So I'm trying to frame the argument of the left the way they would put it. But you're not doing that. You're basically picking a line here. You don't even have a quote. But you're just throwing it out there, relying on your guys to go wild. And that's not really a debate.
Dinesh, if I did that behind your back, you might have a point. You're right here. You have a mic. I asked you a question. Well, answer it.
I'll answer it. So,
okay.
so my...
Are you serious? I asked you a question. Answer it. Is that what I heard? Let's play it one more time.
I asked you a question.
Well,
answer it.
I asked you a question. Answer it. You mean like you didn't? The last fucking 5 questions?
64. Did more Republicans in proportion or more Democrats vote for the Civil Rights Act of 1964? Answer yes. Which one? Which party voted in greater proportion for the Civil Rights Act of 1964?
Great. Let's do it.
Which one?
All right.
Do you know?
So I believe that the guy who pushed for the Civil Rights Act was a guy named Lyndon Baines Johnson, who was most clearly a Democrat. And at that point, the Democrats
Say that that's when they switched. So let me ask you this. We had the Voting Rights Act in 1965 and the Fair Housing Bill in 1968. Let's take the Fair Housing Bill. Did more Republicans or more Democrats proportionally vote for the Fair Housing Bill? Which one?
So, Dinesh, let's try this one more time. So, Republicans were more progressive. They were the progressive party, so they would push for things that were progressive until those events in that exact time period, Dinesh. And then a lot of them thought under Nixon, and he wasn't president yet, and when he ran, he said, hey, I got a great idea.
Let me ask you this. In 1968, who won the Deep South?
So, look, I get it.
You don't know.
No, I get it. No, his whole shtick is, during the transition, when we were trying to get the races, we didn't have them all.
Listen, you said it started in 64, and you said Nixon was the epitome of it. Nixon was elected in 68, and I'm asking you, who won the Deep South, and you have no idea.
The Democrats owned the Deep South.
Please note that these 3 questions were done in a matter of 5 minutes. Less than 5 minutes, probably. Those were 3 questions that he didn't answer. 3 questions that he didn't answer, and then he has the testicles, probably covered up in his fat. He has the testicles to tell Dinesh to answer his question when he hasn't been doing that himself. Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. That is how you debate like a champ. Do you want to never lose a debate? Well, now you will never lose a debate. You just watched the best video on the internet on how to debate like a champ. You're going to be exactly like Cenk, and you're going to be a fat fuck who can't answer a simple question. Seriously, he got fucking destroyed. What can you say? Have a good one. Please don't forget to subscribe to Renegade Slogan Media. Have a good one.